In September 2013, we were very happy to launch one of the first MOOCs of Leiden University, titled Terrorism and Counterterrorism: Comparing Theory and Practice. Well, I've been assisting Professor Edwin Bakker in developing this course and also in teaching the course in the Flip the Classroom format. Well, the course has been online for more than 2 years now, and we have just reached the magic number of 100,000 participants. So we are actually very happy with that. The course has 6 weeks, each of about 6 videos that last around 6 to 12 minutes. So in fact, it kind of follows the same logic as a regular university course. Well, the main difference, of course, is that the videos had to be very short. And this forced us to be very clear and concise and really go to the core of the arguments, of the issues that we want to raise and that we would like to discuss. So this helps you to develop excellent learning material. Well, instead of dedicating our precious class time only to explaining it in static lectures, we could now directly move on to applying and discussing the material with students. And this is something that the students also very much appreciated. And we also asked them then to bring this discussion post back to class so we could discuss it there, again to link the on and offline. Well, one of the main challenges of designing a Flip the Classroom course for us was finding the right balance between on and offline activities. We were afraid that if we would just give the students the videos, say watch them at home, without explaining the idea behind it or without referring to the videos again in the class, that they would lose interest or not understand why we were actually doing this. So we tried to find ways to link it. For instance, by way of the discussion forum. Well, why did we do that? Well, first of all, because we were teaching a very subjective and a very globalized topic, terrorism. In the discussion forum we had people from 170 countries present. So we felt this was really a good way for our Dutch students, but actually for all students, to learn about different views, about different perceptions and different experiences with phenomenon as terrorism. The students were interested in this new type of teaching. Some were very excited about watching the videos wherever, whenever they want, while others might have been a bit more skeptical about the fact that they did not have the normal lectures anymore, but we did not receive any negative remarks about that. We had already been teaching similar courses in university, so it was just a logical step to use the videos as a replacement for the big, large hall lectures. Well, finally, but that's also a very important reason, we just were very eager to experiment with new, innovative ways of teaching and also find new ways how to engage our students. Well, finally, what we were very focused on was designing a very clear course syllabus. Flip the Classroom expects a lot of independent coursework from your students, so you have to be very clear about what you expect them to do, how they could access the videos, and that you align these expectations. One of the most difficult things to manage during the course itself was in our case related to the grading. We hoped that we could use the grading modules of Coursera, like multiple choice quizzes, like peer-reviewed assignments, to do most of the grading for us, as we had about 160 students enrolled. But unfortunately, the online testing modules in general have not been developed to such an extent that cheating is not possible. But still, we found it very important that the students were doing weekly assignments. Also to help them really watch the videos each week and to read the assigned literature, because that was also what we were going to test in the final exam. So that meant that we had to grade a lot of assignments by hand. Of course, it is not unique to Flip the Classroom. You also have it in your normal university course. But it is important to realize that some of the same issues might still occur in a Flip the Classroom course. also we tried to focus very much on explaining why and how we were doing this. And we think that resonated well with the students. Another thing that we really tried to do was explain very clearly where they could find all the online material, how they could register and how they could access the videos. So fortunately we did not have any problems with online registration or with students who could not access the videos. Well, we are happy to say that an overwhelming majority of the students was very satisfied and gave high scores to the course. They very much liked this independence of watching the videos at home, preparing whenever they want. They also liked that they had more time to discuss the material in the class. And even though we had just a very small number of in-class meetings, 4, students still indicated that they felt this was enough to really discuss the material. One thing that the students were maybe a bit less enthusiastic about was the frequency of the weekly assignments. They felt it was a bit too forced to have this assignment each week, and they did not really need this stimulus to keep up with the course. So that is something that we might change the next time we are offering the course. We are very positive about our first experience with Flip the Classroom. It was new, it was exciting, and it gave us the opportunity to experiment with innovative ways of teaching. Well, of course there are things that could have been better, such as the frequency of the small assignments. But now we have a better picture of what we actually would like to do in class, and we can even move on to more challenging assignments. Well, the results of the final exam showed that the concept of Flip the Classroom really works. Students had read the literature, had prepared everything, and were perfectly able to cope with a lot of responsibility and independence. And that is actually also one of the main skills we would like to teach our students. Well, we're actually very excited that we can offer an improved version of this course later this year. And of course we try to stay updated on all the developments in the field of Flip the Classroom. There are a number of tips and tricks that we would have found useful to have known beforehand. First of all, really focus on your course structure. Which weeks do you want to use for your video lectures and which weeks do you want to use for your class meetings? Well, maybe you have a very difficult assignment, or maybe there's a week with a lot of complex new stuff and you want to use that for your class meetings. Secondly, think about ways to link the on and offline part of your course. It is important for the students that they know that they are applying, that they are discussing offline in your classroom what they have learned online in your videos. Thirdly, make sure you have some, but not too many midterm assignments, but you still want to keep track of the progress of your students and find any possible problems. Finally, if you have a big group, we do recommend you to split them up in smaller seminar groups, because in seminar groups students can actually discuss it. And education in the end still comes down to personal attention, to personal instruction with you or your teaching assistant. So that is why it is important that you give students this opportunity. So think about videos as a way to improve your course, but don't see them as the goal in itself. And finally, but most importantly, I guess, experiment with and enjoy this new way of teaching, because it is a lot of fun and it can also teach you a lot about education.